So, part 1. Even though you have the starter project, let's see a little bit the structure of the project. Okay, we have our scenes over here. Let me raise this. We have an empty scene, game, that is go for the multiplayer, lobby, main, and start here. Start here is basically this scene. Okay, basically just the logo. And when you hit enter, it's just not lerps, it just loads the main level, so you can skip, and we were going to skip the start here scene. Okay, and basically the main is what's kind of important over here, which has the season master, which is what we are going to use to move through menus and all that, and levels. And of course our canvas, which has everything inside, main menu, level select, although notice that on some cases we're going to basically dynamically create our grids, or basically the buttons, not the grids. The grid is already created. Okay, I'm not going to go into much of a detail into the UI since we have a lot to cover and you already got the UI. I'm going to assume that you know how to hook buttons to scripts, and of course we're going to see what the actual scripts are going to be. Okay, so we have main, and for main, basically session master and canvas, there's no need to ever load them again. Okay, so whenever we are going to load and say going back to the menu, we're going to be going into basically this empty scene, which only has a camera holder with just the main camera and a rotate sky, so the sky actually rotates in the background. Now, into the game scene, we only have camera holder, rotate sky, and we also have a map game object which also creates the map. Okay, it has the map creator, map controller. We're going to see them in depth, everything, of course. We're just covering a little bit the structure. And well, it also has the level editor. So basically game and level editor is exactly the same scene. Same with game multiplayer, but so game and game multi are almost identical, but the game multi scene, it's basically more tailored towards multiplayer because we have other behaviors like multiplayer session and objects with network identity in, and the map controller network. Okay, so we have a lot more control over the multiplayer because in multiplayer we also need to sync the level, and we also need to sync any distractions, we need to sync players and all that. Okay, but basically it's just the same. You can, since you have the starter project, you can see that it has the objects it already has inside, so you need to see those. So you can see and just add the scripts when you write them. The lobby scene is what, whenever we hit multiplayer and we either host or join, is what we load on the lobby scene. And it's this. Scene references is just the helicopters. Okay, and the spawn positions is basically, we also have the animator and for the helix and the door. There are two different animators. Okay, for each slot, and the transform slot is where the sprite is going to be instantiated when you select a player. Okay, and most of the other stuff is going to actually load with we will load them through script. Lobby canvas and lobby menu is of course lobby menu, which doesn't show because we create it, and the level select is the levels we select from over here, and the current level is this thing above. Okay, we will see this when it's time to see them, basically. Okay, there's no need right now since we're only covering the structure. Okay, So keep that in mind. Start here is just a fancy animation, nothing else. What's important is main, empty, game, game multi, and lobby. That's for the scenes. So we're going to go into main. We're going to just ignore start here. Okay, and we're actually going to go and see the menu holder first of all, which, okay, we have all our game objects for our menus: main menu, multiplayer UI, lobby UI, select level, level editor, because the level editor has more than one UI. Okay, it has the ones on the left, on the right, and if you want to add more, we're just going to have an array and enable and disable objects. Back button, load UI, and in-game menu. If we are inside the game menu or inside the game and we press escape, we need to know if it's closed or open, so we know if we want to actually close it or open. Close all, of course, just close everything we have over here, every game object, and activate level editor. So instead of writing this every time, we just add it, encapsulate it into a single function. Okay, it's a singleton, and we also do not want to destroy the singleton. Okay, menu holder is this. Session master, which is basically the meat, or basically the understructure of everything, and basically our framework. We need all this and this, yeah, maybe not this, and this for, and this one is mine. Everything else goes because we use a lot of the namespace. Okay, we use a lot of stuff. References. We have references for, we need also references for the map creator, map controller, level editor, basically for every other manager, menus holder, character manager, multiplayer manager, and the camera scripts. We have a few variables for multiplayer, and although, yeah, we can see them now, we're going to see them when it's time on the video for the multiplayer. Okay, are created characters into the lobby scene, the actual lobby player, which is created by the unit, the local player object, which you can guess what it is, and the unassigned integer, which is player lobby ID. List of available level files. We see on our folder how many files we have and how many of those are levels, and we set them up as our available levels. Some variables we're going to use. Okay, if we are running the session, if we are loading, the session type, target map, if we are in game, if it's the editor, if it's multiplayer. This basically comes so that we know the size of our map and update variables either in game or in the editor. And the player start position is the last current active checkpoint, which in this case will always be the one furthest to the left. If there's more than one furthest to the left, since all checkpoints must go on a node, okay, then it will take the first one we receive. Scene type. We only want this main editor game lobby. Okay, we do not want anything else, and basically because start here, we're only going to go into the start here scene only when you start, and on the main we never want to load this again, so it's basically empty game and lobby. Game multi, we do not load this, but unit actually loads it. Yeah, that's its behavior. When all the players are ready, it will load the game multi by itself. Okay, and that's what we have over here. And basically editor and game, it's exactly the same scene, but only the behavior changes from over here. On start we just start coroutine. We get the references. Everything is a singleton, of course. For the menu holder we close everything. And session type, let's see the session type enum. Okay, waiting is basically when we are on the main menu. We are not doing anything, we're just waiting. This is on the session master, just on you know, on the end of the session master, so that we do not have to scroll down. Okay, session type, waiting. Okay, we just wait until the player selects what he needs to do, and then we start the session. Start session is the init doesn't run after inside the start. Okay, start coroutine does start game, and what it does, starts coroutine load main, which is loads the main scene. We're going to see in depth what we do over here, although it's kind of simple. And after the main, which is the empty scene, has loaded, then we init. Start session. We have init session, we have all the session types. Okay, and we simply pass the reference we want to start, and we update this over here. So from init, start session, session type will be waiting. Okay, start game, start session, and we're over here. We close all the menus, and we now open only the ones we want to have. So for waiting, we are on the main menu. We only open the main menu. When the player hits single player or solo, we open the select level menu. We open the back button so the player can go back into the main menu, and we also init the level select manager, which in turn goes and creates the actual buttons for the level. Multiplayer, we set the target map just in case the host forgets to assign a level. It's going to hardcode just one level. This needs a little bit of care. Okay, since this is hardcoded, it's always going to look for a level.level level. Just set it up something that it's a default level, or a level you have actually named it. Okay, then we're going to open the multiplayer UI, back button, and we're going to say start multiplayer, although it's not the actual start multiplayer, it just adds another behavior over there. And for the editor, we're going to open the back button and the level editor init. Okay, it's not exactly inside the level editor, it's the menu where you select the size and all that. Scenes logic. And before we see the scenes logic, let's see the scene load coroutines. Okay, just coroutines that loads each time any scene you might want. Okay, so when I want to load the main, what I did is load the scene, but inside inside the coroutine. Okay, and you can actually load this async, although since most of these are just empty scenes and the game is not really that big, okay, you can just load in as simple as that. Okay, coroutines, nothing special, and when we want to load the scene, we pass the scene type and it runs the coroutine. And if we are loading, and we have ended loading. Okay, so that's the scene load coroutines. Scenes logic. So let's say the player has hit the single player start solo game. Okay, it's not an editor and it's also not multiplayer. If we are not already loading, start the coroutine and load the scene game. So when this is called is when the player hits the button when he has selected the level. Okay, when the player selects a level, we have the level select manager, which is just a button and not the actual button. This goes into, let me see, level select manager, and let's hit play actually so that you can see what I mean. Okay, start game. We have enabled level select, we have created two levels, and when I click one of those, it's going to go into the level select manager, and it's going to go into the load level. We have the string name, we set up the target map on the session master, and if it's not multiplayer, then we go again into the session master and we hit start solo. For the multiplayer we have a few more other stuff to do and we will see them when it's time. So start solo. Okay, we come over here, we load the game scene, and after the game scene has been loaded, and what's going to happen is the map creator, which is not yet the time to see, okay, it's for part 2, and the map creator, after it creates the grid, it's going to come into, okay, here's the map creator, it's going to create the grid or the level, or either load the level editor. After it has run what it has to run, then it's going to call to the wrap up, and depending on what it is, in this case it's the solo, so it's not the level editor, it's also not the, yeah, that's not where it is. We actually call it, if it's not the level editor, if it's not the multiplayer, okay, it's a single map, we load our target map, load map, and back to the session master, start solo actual. And that's why I told you not to try and write along with me, because you know there's a lot of back and forth. So start solo actual, we have basically started our single player. We initialize the level editor, even though we are not in the level editor, we're going to need some stuff from the level editor, because we need to basically recreate a level. Okay, level editor, we close the camera target of the level editor. Menu holder, we just close everything. Map creator, we get the references. We also get the reference for the camera script. We disable, for starters, our camera script. We find the active checkpoint. Find active checkpoint is just a simple function. Okay, we have player start position, which is what we load from the level editor, how we assign basically the checkpoints in the level editor. And what it does is going to look for every checkpoint we have inside our level, and it's going to check for the one that is furthest to the X, and it's going to assign it. So it's actually not going to take the very first, the first furthest left checkpoint it's going to find. It's actually going to find the last one it's going to find, as I say over here, and it's going to return it as our active checkpoint. Okay, start solo actual, we are over here. We only have one prefab for each controller, and we change the character from beneath. Okay, we load the prefab from the resources. We instantiate it into the active checkpoint. We have on our character manager, we need the character, which is basically what creates the character. And the active checkpoint we also initialize for the game, which basically just goes into the active checkpoint and closes the indicator. Okay, as I said, this we will go into more depth to this, into the level editor. We set the camera, okay, we set the target, enable true, in-game true. We also start the object pooling and so on. Okay, where we want to start the level editor, we set is editor, it's not multiplayer. If it's not loading, then we load the scene for the editor, which is again the game scene. So after the map creator has finished and created the level and all that, it's going to come over here and say start level editor actual. Level editor menu holder is going to close the level editor initialization, which is this scene. It's going to close this menu, and we're going to come in here. We get the singleton. Okay, it's not multiplayer, it's level editor on the map creator this time. Okay, not over here, over here. We're going to initialize the level editor, and it's going to set it that we paint tiles. If the level editor does not have ticked the paint tiles, then it's not going to paint the tiles. Okay, simple enough. Finds the checkpoint. It's going to basically just create one if it doesn't find one. We need to have one assigned at this point. Okay, active checkpoint. Again, find active checkpoint. If it's not null, then it's going to assign the spawn position. If it's null, then it's just going to keep it as vector3.1. We initialize, basically we set the level editor camera target to be at the spawn position, and we also set the camera target to active. We initialize the camera holder, the target, okay, camera script if it's enabled. We enable it, and we say that in-game camera script in-game is true. If the camera manager has in-game true, that means it can follow around the target. Okay, and we open on the menu holder our level editor UIs, and we also open finally the mouse indicator for the game object. Back to menu, we call this from the UI button, basically whenever we hit back to menu. Okay, as I did over there. We're not anymore in game. If we're not loading, if we have any created characters, we're going to clear them. If we have any scene references, we destroy them. Okay, this has to do with multiplayer, all this. We don't need to worry about them right now, but they are kind of important. We need to destroy any scene references we had before, and we also need to do the rest. So for instance, in the lobby manager, we need to kick all players, to stop host, okay, and of course stop the client if it's the client, and then we load the empty scene, okay, the main, and we set a start session to waiting. So this is the back menu. Now let's say the player selects, oops, what I did, start multiplayer. We're not in the editor, we are multiplayer. We load the scene lobby, so it's going to load the lobby scene, and after the player has found if he wants to host or join, and they have loaded the level and the level has synchronized, okay, all that are handled differently on the multiplayer than the single player. So after that everything has done and the map creator has finished creating the level, the synchronized level, then we're going to call this start multiplayer actual, which is going to initialize the start, the multiplayer manager. It's going to say start multi, going to close all the menus, it's going to initialize the level editor, it's going to find the camera target and close the level editor's camera target for the level editor. Okay, set the active checkpoint, object pool, and we are in game and you are ready to play basically. Start multi on the multiplayer manager, what is it? Yeah, the start multi basically just opens the multiplayer UI, although in this case we might actually not even need this. We're going to see. And where were we? Season master, okay, over here. And that's basically the scene's logic. Okay, where we want to start something, we run a logic. When that actually wants to run, so we have finished, we run a different other logic. Okay, main thread, the main threads, fixed update. So for instance, the fixed update, you only want the map controller fixed tick, so it's fixed update. Map controller is what controls, you know, where there is a distraction in the level and all that, so it's not for now. And for update, in-game menu logic on solo and multi, and on the editor we just have the update of the level editor. If you do not want the level editor to have its own update, you know, I just prefer using this. In-game menu logic, as I said, if you're pressing the escape, if you are also in-game, okay, if the in-game menu is open, it's going to close it, else it's going to turn it true. Okay, now where we want to load 5 levels, in this case our file levels are the actual levels. We clear any level we might have before. Directory info, we find new directory info, okay, application streaming path, levels, file info. For each file info we have over here, we split the names every time we find a dot. If the length is 2, so we have to, in the file, inside the file, and especially inside Unity, every file you have that is inside the Unity will also have a .meta file. Okay, of course we do not want the .meta files, so if we have a level.level, there is also going to be a file called level.level.meta. We do not want the .meta. So if we split up the files and say that there's only 2 sections, so there's only one dot, then that means it's probably a level, and we check the extension, and if it's level on the second extension, or the second part of the level, okay, we also take care of the meta. And if there wasn't any meta files, we have this, we do not want this, available levels.add f name. Okay, simple enough. Find active checkpoint, we've seen this. For multiplayer, here we have some specific for multiplayer stuff. It's also a singleton, and we do not destroy. Now, for the multiplayer, it's mostly, even though it's for the multiplayer, it's mostly has to do with finding the stuff inside the list by, using the everything we say over here. So, creating lobby characters. Of course, you shouldn't actually see this now. You should probably watch it on the multiplayer. What we have is a few info we need to know, as connection ID, the ID, player name, character ID, the lobby player, and some references that has to do with the lobby scene. Okay, and these functions basically are get my net ID. It just goes into the created characters and compares with the net ID. Lobby character, it compares with the player ID, the unassigned integer. Local lobby player is going to find and compare the local player, okay, the local lobby player basically, and it's going to return the ID, and also it can also return the local lobby player. We're going to see this when it's time. Okay, we still have a lot of stuff to cover before we even touched multiplayer. Or so this is the session master basically, and we saw menu folder, session master, we saw the scene setup, and we also saw the level select manager. And let me find it so that I know we actually saw it. Manager. Level select manager. Okay, grid object, and we didn't say everything. Level select manager, we start with the grid object is the UI element that has a grid, so every button is going to go underneath the grid. Okay, button prefab, session master, previous button. Okay, we get the reference when we initialize the level select manager. We saw where we initialize the level select manager. Okay, inside the session master, we get the reference. If the button prefab is null, we load it. Since the first time we're going to go and the player is going to select single player, then we won't have the prefab. The next time though, we're actually going to have already loaded the button prefab, so there is no need to load it again. Okay, button prefab, we load all the file levels. Okay, we just saw this. We destroy any previous buttons we might have, and we create new ones. Okay, we need to destroy the previous ones, or yeah, we do not change the previous ones because the player might have actually created new levels by the time, you know, it goes again and finds the buttons. So you still need to go and create new buttons. Okay, we just destroy the previous ones and we create new ones. What is a new button? We instantiate the button prefab, we set it as a parent under the grid object, and we get the level select button component, and we assign within it we basically change the name and we add it into the list of previous buttons so that we know what we want to delete next time. Okay, we saw load level, and it's also a singleton. Let's see the script for the level select button. Okay, the text is the UI element, so it's the text that we change. The level name is of course the level name, and when we initialize this, we pass the text name. If the text equals null, then it's going to go and get the component that can find as text and change that, just in case, or not just in case, so that you do not have to set it up in the inspector. Text name, level name, and when you select the button, it's going to call the singleton for the level select manager, and it's going to say load me the level you have saved over here. And as I said, it's going to come over here, and depending if it's multiplayer or not, it's going to run these behaviors. Okay, and yeah, we pretty much covered everything. I think for part 1 these are enough, but let's cover a little bit the buttons, except the lobby button, because it has a lot that doesn't have to do with anything, so it's going to need a lot of stuff to remember. Okay, back to menu button. You can guess where this goes, and this doesn't need to go. Okay, session master and calls back to menu. So you need to hook that into the behavior of the back button we have over here, okay, in this button. Current level text is, it's mostly for multiplayer, but let's see it from over here. Text info, text name, backdrop. We initialize, basically we turn everything on. On close, we close everything on, and when we want to update the level, we have the text name and we update that, and it's also a singleton. Level init, it's when we want to initialize the level. We have 2 sliders. By level init I mean this one. Okay, 2 sliders. The text that update what we have selected from over here, and the button for make level. Okay, slider X, slider Y, X text, Y text, X, Y, session master. On start we get the reference for the session master. We set it up as 32 since 32 is the minimum. We have the text, we turn it to text. We also get the values for the slider. Change slider value. If it's the X value, then it's going to change the X, or it's going to change the Y. And when you hit make level, it just goes into the session master and update the max X and max Y, and then it goes and says on the session master start level editor, okay, which in turn goes loads the scene and loads the start level editor actual when it's time to load it. Okay, I think you won't have problems with this. These are really basic stuff. Menu button, main menu button I should say. Okay, session type, select session, session master, start session. Okay, update the session type in each session, and depending what we have selected, do the behaviors that you have to do. Menus holder, we have seen it. Name indicator, you can guess what it is. It's a name indicator. It only has a text, so we update when we use this into the lobby, so we update the names of the players. Okay, I guess we could see the utilities also. For instance, rotate skybox, material sky, speed, rotation. The sky we want to be from the red settings. The skybox, just start with .delta time, and just because we do not want any more than 360. When it's over 360, reset it to 0, and then set the material for the sky, set float, rotation, rotation. Okay, let's close this, let's save this. Level init, level select manager, we've seen this. It's not the time for this, nor this, nor this, nor this, nor this. As you can see, this is almost a complete game, so we have a lot to cover. Set camera. Okay, position shake speed, position shake range, position shaking, timer, update if you are shaking, get the position, smooth scale, smooth random, get vector 3, position shake range, timer, all that and all that. Shake heli, almost the same, although a little bit more simple. Smooth random. Okay, I shouldn't even be covering this, to be honest. Okay, these have nothing to do with the reason for the whole project. Okay, and destroy after time. Let's see this, since it does have to go to the object pool. Now, because we're going to create an object pool, an object pooler basically, we do not want to destroy, but we're only going to disable the game object. Okay, simple enough. And yeah, well, I'm going to actually end this over here. Let's see. I think, yeah, there's no reason. I'm going to go into more to cover, or I guess we can see the character manager too. Okay, we have a few classes, in-game characters, player, basically the characters, not the players. Of course, we only have one character in this case. Okay, the player, the transform, and the character ID. Character ID and the prefab. It's a singleton. And on the top we have a list of in-game characters, so whenever we create a character we store him over here with his information. And we also have an array of characters, which we need to go and set this up into the inspector. So clear characters, of course, destroys any active character we have. Init character is going to create a new character. It's going to basically find the character with the character ID. Yeah, the character ID is just an integer, so that we do not use strings. Okay, if you can't find the character, then return. Otherwise, create a new in-game character, save its character ID, save the player, instantiate a character object, parent it under the player. Parent under is basically the player controller. Reset its local position. Notice that rotation, we do not do anything with rotation, we handle that inside the controller. And the active character transform will be the character object transform. And we also add it into the list. Init character module, we do not do anything over here, we handle it differently. Get character, we just get the ID from the character. Okay, simple enough, very simple. And yeah, I'm going to end part 1 over here. We've covered a lot of stuff, and on the next part we're going to go into creating the grid. Part 3 will be level editor, and serialization and all that. Okay, part 4, then we're going to go into hooking the menus, game scene, and have a character manager, player controller, object tool. We're basically going to create the game loop for the single player and the level editor. And then probably with part 5 or 6 we're going to see how it looks, how it goes, because if it's too much stuff, okay, I need to split it up into more parts. And then we're going to touch on multiplayer, and multiplayer there is a lot of meat. We're going to see lobby scene, we're going to write our own lobby scene. Okay, we're not going to make to use anything Unity gives us, apart from the unit, of course. Okay, we're going to create our own lobby scene. We're going to see how we can sync levels over the network. We're also going to see how we can sync players, sync distractions, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff to cover. So as I said, and I'm going to say on every video, do not try to write along as you watch, especially on the first time you watch the videos. Take notes, see how we do something, and understand the concepts. There's no point trying to do any other way, because it's just so many stuff. We need to go through multiple scripts a lot of the time, so you're only going to get confused. Okay, write down the important stuff, and when you, or not write down, take notes or mental notes, whatever works for you. Okay, and when you're going to go and sit down and write your scripts, then just say, how do I connect a menu? How can I make a menu? Oh, you're gonna say, yeah, I remember he did that with the session master. Let me try that. Okay, and then if you want to see, if you do not forget how, come into the video again and see that, see some example code basically, because this is all this is example code. So you know what to do. Like, subscribe if you like what we're doing and want to see it continue. Then consider supporting me either on Patreon or on Gumroad. And of course, I'll see you next time.